Let's move on. We move on to Niners Seahawks. Niners Seahawks. This total opened at 54, stayed there the whole time. Seattle opening up at -3, stayed there the whole time. There's been no movement on this Niners Seahawks spot. Niners 4-3, 3-0 on the road. Seahawks 5-1, 3-0 at home. Niners second straight game on the road, coming off handing the Patriots the worst home loss of the Belichick era. Jimmy G, 28-25 for 277 yards, 2 picks. First game against the former team. They outgained the Patriots 467 to 241. San Francisco completely dominated the first half, 23-3 lead, held the ball for 22 minutes and 30 seconds, 301 to 59 advantage in total yards, 4 first downs for the Pats, 18 for the Niners in that first half. Ayuk, 6 catches for 115 yards. Deebo Samuel, 5 catches for 65 yards before leaving the game with a hamstring injury. It just doesn't end for the Niners. Samuel out for at least 2 weeks. Then we go to Jeff Wilson, rush for a career-high 3 touchdowns, 112 yards, ankle injury reserve. James, Tart, Jimmy Ward, Quan Alexander, all questionable. Seahawks made countless mistakes, lost their first game of the season, 37-34 to Arizona. Wilson, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, passing, ran for 84 yards. Threw 3 costly interceptions. They were up 34-24 with 5.5 minutes left. The Seahawks finished with 572 total yards, but gave up 516. No team in league history has allowed more yards through the first 6 games of the season than the 2,875 the Seahawks have allowed. No team has allowed that many yards through the air either, 2,212. Seattle recorded 0 quarterback hits against Murray in 52 passing snaps. Lockett looked great. 15 catches, 20 yards, 3 TDs. Chris Carson, foot sprain. Travis Homer, bruised knee. Both left Sunday's game. Their availability is in question. Backup Carlos Hyde rushed for 68 yards, TD. Then he leaves with a tight hamstring. Cornerback Shaquille Griffin, concussion and a hamstring injury. And then Jamal Adams missed last 3 games with a groin injury. It's a difficult cap here, Bebsy. These teams are so broken. What are you thinking?
That's the sentiment exactly. I don't even know who's playing for the Niners this week. I don't know who's playing for the Seahawks this week. Jeff Wilson Jr. comes out. He's the 4th string running back at the start of the year. He annihilates the Pats defense. He goes down. A few plays later, Deebo Samuel goes down. There's just so many injuries on that offense, and yet they still manage to keep moving the ball. JaMychal Hasty, who's an undrafted rookie free agent, comes off the practice squad. He's been carving defenses up. Now, there's a chance that Tevin Coleman comes back, and I'm not high on Tevin Coleman at this stage in his career, but at least he can spell Hasty. McKinnon has dead legs, so they can't move it there, but Seattle's run defense is terrible. Seattle's pass defense is terrible. I just don't think that Seattle's going to be able to stop San Francisco, even if it's Coleman and Hasty, even if it's just Hasty. A huge blow is losing Samuel. You see the way that guy opens things up because, quite frankly, Deebo Samuel runs like a truck. He runs right into people. I kind of woke up a bit this week, but the injury report is wild on both sides of the ball. They may or may not be getting Ward and Tart back this week. It's just really, really hard. And then, Seattle's thin at running back now. This is just it's hard to say because the injury report for both teams is pretty wild right now. The one thing is these teams always play each other tight. Seattle plays teams tight. So the lean is the Niners because of how close this game will likely be, but it's a really, really tough call.
It's so tricky to make an educated angle-based bet on this. Michael Urvalina asking about team props. Niners are at 24.5. Seahawks are at 28.5. And then first half team props. Niners are at 10.5. Seahawks are at 13.5. What do you think of this total sitting up at 54, Bebsy?
I mean, look, if you were to just isolate other games with both of these offenses, that would be an easy play. But again, these two teams hate each other. Their recent history against each other, they play very hard. I think Seattle's awful defense will step up, and I think San Francisco's consistent, in spite of all their injuries, defense will play tight too. I think, if anything, you could get a surprise under here, but it doesn't appeal to me because we both know Seattle's defense is brutal and their offense is great. So most of their games have gone up and over.
It's the hardest game on the board for me.
And San Francisco's defense, I don't know if it's Robert Saleh's strategy, but they struggle so hard against mobile quarterbacks. So what they did last week very well against Cam Newton was they didn't try and get after him. They tried to hem him in. The only difference is when you hem in Cam Newton and he uses his arm, it doesn't work for him. But when you hem in Russell Wilson and let him pick defenses apart, he does exactly that.
Stay away spot for you, Bebsy.
It's a stay away spot. There's too many uncertainties with injuries and just unpredictability with these teams. But I do believe this is a game that comes down to the wire. I feel like the last team with the ball in their hands wins this game.
If you find out that there's no Shaquille Griffin, there's no Jamal Adams, there's no Chris Carson, then do you pull the trigger on the Niners?
Yeah, maybe. But we've seen the Niners we saw the Niners get pumped by Miami a couple weeks ago. We saw the Niners lose to Philadelphia. Now, again, a lot of that had to do with the specific matchup within the game. And the fact that, Jimmy Garoppolo should not have played in that Miami game. He wasn't healthy. They lost partly because of that. But look, Verrett has been incredible. Mosley has looked good coming back. It's just they now kind of have a decent looking secondary, but they still don't have any pass rush right now. They have more of a pass rush than Seattle, but they're still without some serious studs.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. All right, we move on to the Sunday nighter. And we have no line right now. No line. Nut Flush Allen, please say hi to Skylar for me. Man, what a great family you have, Nut Flush. Please send my love to them all and say hi to Skylar for me.